This just in.
What's up, everyone? Time for a 49ers news update. Thanks for coming by. 49ers Cutback. All the latest news. And here we're going to be talking about what Kyle Shanahan had said in the presser. Now we've got a clear idea of who is going to be playing for both teams on Sunday in the matchup between the San Francisco 49ers and the Washington Commanders. Now, some really good news and then some not so good news for the 49ers and some pretty bad news for the Washington Commanders. They are dealing with some things as well. So let's get all into this and let's talk about some of the things that are going on. First off, the good news for the San Francisco 49ers, Trent Williams is not even on the injury report, which means he will be starting at left tackle for the 49ers to take on his former team, the Commanders. So that's great news. He did practice all week, and now he's going to be playing. So the 49ers will have one player from their left side of the line on Sunday. When it comes to Aaron Banks, even though he hasn't been practicing, he was listed as questionable with the toe injury. That's good news. He could have been listed as doubtful or out, which would have meant he wasn't going to play against the Commanders. But listed as questionable means there's still a chance for Aaron Banks to be able to play on Sunday. If he isn't able to go, the likelihood is it'll be John Feliciano flipping from right guard to left guard and Spencer Burford sliding into the lineup back to where he used to be as the starting right guard. Now, players that were listed as out, so these guys have no chance of playing on Sunday for the 49ers. Eric Armstead, of course, he's still dealing with the foot and knee injury. The likelihood is that he's going to be out for the remainder of the regular season. Jair Brown, he's been dealing with a knee sprain, and Kyle said he's out this week, but there is a chance for next week. When asked if he was out for the rest of the regular season, Kyle Shanahan said, "I hope not." He was out there, and there was a chance he could go this week. So there's a likelihood he could be ready next week. So we'll see. 49ers would love to probably give him time off to recover, to get into the playoffs, but they're going to be starting a new safety in Logan Ryan. So we'll see exactly what happens with Jair Brown once we get to next week and the Los Angeles Rams. Tight end Ross Dwelley was then unable to come back from the sprained ankle. High ankle sprain, normally 4 to 6 weeks. It's come up on 4 weeks. He's still unavailable, so Ross Dwelley will not be available. Juwan Jennings wasn't able to progress through concussion protocol, so Juwan Jennings will be out, and the San Francisco 49ers will be down a wide receiver again for this game. They do have Chris Conley. They do have Ronnie Bell to go along with Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. We'll see if they elevate a player or what they decide to do. They do have the option to activate Danny Gray. If they do so, they would have to put somebody on IR or release somebody from the active 53-man roster to make room for Gray. But Gray looked good in practice. Gray has the ability to help on special teams. And with the 49ers tending to want to use Jason Verrett, that means you don't have Sam Womack on special teams. Putting Gray in his gunner spot would make a lot of sense. So could we see a guy like Ross Dwelley go to the IR and basically end his season for Danny Gray? That's potentially a spot that could happen, but we'll see what the 49ers elect to do. They might elect just to go in with 4 wide receivers. And then Jalen Moore, he got a concussion last week against the Ravens when he came in to fill in for Trent Williams, and he did not progress through concussion protocol. With it being a short week, this was the likely outcome. So Jalen Moore is out for the game against the Ravens, which means the 49ers' first backup in is likely Matt Pryor, who they just re-signed this week after releasing him before the Ravens game. So 49ers do have options along the offensive line, and one of them is Matt Pryor at tackle, and then on the inside, they've got Ben Barch, depending on what happens with Aaron Banks. And if Banks isn't able to go, the likelihood is the 49ers would elevate an offensive lineman from their practice squad. So we talked about Banks being questionable. Also listed to questionable is Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles. And Flanagan-Fowles has been starting at Sam Backer, but he's dealing with an illness, and we'll see if he's going to be able to go on Sunday. That will be a game-time decision. The likelihood is that Flanagan-Fowles will be able to play. The good news is Oren Burks was left off the injury report, which means Oren Burks is back and going to be starting at Sam linebacker after 2 weeks resting a knee that he's been dealing with knee tendonitis. So that's great news for the 49ers, getting another starter back at the linebacker position. We talked about Danny Gray. The 49ers list him as questionable because They're questionable until they're activated to the 53-man roster. 49ers have less than 20 days now to decide if Danny Gray is going to be a part of the 2023 NFL season or if they're going to put him on ice. So Gray's decision will come soon. It could come as early as this Sunday. We'll see what happens with Danny Gray. Jordan Mason is questionable with an illness, and the likelihood is that he'll be coming back as well. Flanagan Fowles, this is the first time he went on with an illness. Jordan Mason's been dealing with it for a couple of days and has missed practice. The likelihood is Jordan Mason will also be able to play on Sunday. Ambry Thomas, good news, questionable with the knee in hand. There's probably a good chance Ambry Thomas is going to be out there. He knows he has to be on the field to be able to continue to get the snaps that he's going to get, because there's guys sniffing around that job and wanting to get out there on the field and produce. So I expect Ambry Thomas to be out there. The fact that he was a limited participant in practice all week is good news. That means he's capable of getting out on the field and being able to play. Now let's talk a little bit about the Washington Commanders. Of course, the big news for the Washington Commanders is quarterback Jacoby Brissett, who was just named starter this week, all of a sudden is having a hamstring tightness. And with that, he's been put on the injury report as questionable. So after the practice and team meetings yesterday, he went to the coaches to let him know that his hamstring was feeling tight. And so now Jacoby Brissett's ability to start on Sunday is up in the air. Of course, if Jacoby Brissett is not able to go, it will be Sam Howell. And Sam Howell has started almost all the games for the Washington Commanders in 2023. So Howell is capable. He's a very electric quarterback with a good arm. And he's one of those feast or famine type guys. He's either going to make big plays or he's going to make turnovers. And so that's an interesting development where the 49ers have been preparing for a veteran quarterback that understands coverages and understands scheme. You're getting a younger quarterback now in Sam Howell potentially that you could go after, get after, and make him feel uncomfortable in the pocket. So I still believe there's a likelihood Jacoby Brissett starts in this game. But you got to make sure you're prepared if you're the 49ers just in case it's Sam Howell. And I'm guessing the 49ers were already doing so as it was. Also questionable for them, Andrew Wiley, their left tackle. Not a great thing. That's not going to be good for them. Offensive tackle, I don't know if he's left. Potentially could be out in this game. That's never a good thing. Wiley is the right tackle. So they don't want to have that. And so they're going to have to figure something out. But the bad news for them is the normal left tackle, Charles Leno, is out with a calf injury. So both tackles dealing with injuries, never good when you're welcoming to town Nick Bosa and Chase Young coming back. That could mean fireworks for the 49ers defensive line as they're looking to pin their ears back and get after this Washington Commanders offense. Commanders better get a run game going, and that's even going to be tough because they're going to be without their center, Tyler Larson, as well. So they're going deep into the bag of the offensive line. That means Nick Gates will be starting at center. Trent Scott and Cornelius Lucas could be starting at tackles. Not a good scenario for the Washington Commanders. They are definitely beat up. So just like the 49ers have injuries and injury concerns, so do the Washington Commanders. It's a war of attrition, and we're getting to the point in the season where it's really tough. And here comes the big ones. These ones are absolutely tough for the Washington Commanders. Cornerback Benjamin St-Juste is going to be out of this game. Starting corner Benjamin St-Juste out with a concussion. So they lose a player on the outside that's pretty good. And then they lose their best cornerback in Kendall Fuller. He's going to be out with a knee. So you see two big injuries on the outside. That's not good. Normally I would say, hey, safeties are going to have to pick it up and give help. Problem is, starting safety Percy Butler, he's out too with the wrist injury. The Washington Commanders back in, which is pretty good, and I've been talking about that this week. If there was one area I felt pretty comfortable with the Commanders as far as strength, it was interior defensive line and that corner position. Well, now the corner position just took a big hit. 49ers, as long as they can protect Brock Purdy, should have a real ability to be able to get the ball into the playmakers' hands without those corners. The likely starters will be Tariq Castro-Fields, who the 49ers drafted in 2022 as a 6th-round pick out of Penn State. He'll be getting his start. And then Jartavius Martin looks to be the other starter for the Washington Commanders. So the Commanders deep into it. Interesting that it's going to be Tariq Castro-Fields. I got to watch him a lot in that training camp. let me just say this. Brandon Ayuk on Tariq Castro Fields, that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Castro Fields is very physical, very tough cornerback, but that's going to be tough for him to stay in front of Brandon Ayuk. So that's the injury update this week. 49ers do have 5 players that are out. The big names out, of course, Armstead, Brown, and Jawan Jennings. They're all starters. 49ers will look to replace them with some pretty talented guys. But, Chris Conley for Jawan Jennings, you'd rather have Jennings. We'll see what Logan Ryan does at safety. And now the 49ers got Sebastian Joseph Day to help with the defensive tackle spot. So they found some guys to help them. We'll see if it ends up paying off for them. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. On the push for 5K, almost there. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe. And remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.